Richard, I think we should start. I'm trying to get hold of them, but I can't.
Okay, so if that's okay, given time and everybody is busy, let us begin, and hopefully Nora, the Deputy Representative, or Deputy Director of the Bureau for Africa, will join us during the meeting. To start, I'd like to just welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on this today. We are going to present some of the guidelines on evaluation during COVID-19. I'd like to hand over to Oscar Garcia, the Director of IEO, who will make some introductory remarks, and then I will present quickly, and then we can have a Q&A. Oscar, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you very much, Richard. Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues. I am delighted to be in this webinar with Deputy and resident representatives from the African region, a very important region for UNDP and for the Independent Evaluation Office. As you are aware, I want to start by thanking your presence in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis. We know how busy you are and how important the activities that you are undertaking to help member states to prepare for the crisis, respond, and recover from it. From the evaluation point of view, we have prepared a number of guidance to orient your work during the COVID-19 related to evaluation. I want to make three basic remarks. The first one is that the Executive Board is expressing its concern with the low coverage of decentralized evaluation, as well as low quality of the decentralized evaluations. This, of course, is a matter of concern also to IEO, and we are doing all we can to support you to improve the coverage and improve the quality. But my second message is that evaluation and evaluation plans accompanying a country program document and the corresponding evaluations that we are expected to conduct during the year should be more than just a headquarters requirement. It is for us very important that you really use evaluation as ways of identifying if you're going into the right direction as you implement your country program. To have a clear vision about the outcomes that you want to achieve, and to see the way in which you may be getting closer to achieving those outcomes or not, and trying to identify what are the factors that are constraining your progress towards achieving the outcomes in partnership with government, in partnership with civil society, in partnership with other donors, is extremely important. And therefore, Richard will share with you some data related to the Africa region, where we can see more in detail the challenges that we have ahead, considering that Africa was really an exemplary region in terms of the conduct of evaluation before, and in the last 2 years, it has somehow declined a bit its attention to evaluation. That's why I am really very thankful to all of you for your participation in this webinar. And finally, telling you what we are doing in terms of our response to COVID-19. We know that the crisis has really changed the way we work, has changed the way we interact with our program countries, and therefore how to reprioritize the work of evaluation and to keep on having this important instrument at your hand, at your disposal, to improve the performance of your country program to achieve the expected sustainable development results in the region, both in terms of inclusiveness and in terms of environmental sustainability. This is the opportunity to build back better, and we think that evaluation should be a light that can show the way on how to build back better based on the evidence of past experience. And that is why we are so thankful for your presence here today, and we are open to have an open dialogue and frank discussion about the shortcomings and ways to address this collective challenge. With that, I would like once again to thank you for your presence and hand it over back to Richard, who has a brief presentation to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Let me share my screen. I have two areas to cover in my presentation today. That is firstly focusing on an overview of where Africa is and where it has been in evaluation over the last few years. And then we will look at the COVID-19 guidance and preparation for COVID-19 evaluations moving forward. We're joined by Heather Bryant, Section Head, who will be available to answer questions at the end, as well as Hanayo Nakano from BPPS, who's developed the monitoring framework for COVID-19. And Margareta Aguilas might join us from Jeff, who can also answer some specific questions in that area. So just give an overview, we'd like to just thank you for your support over the last few years, especially 2019. We undertook 11 evaluations in the Africa region. This year we have 5 planned. Now the office, IEO itself undertook a criticality assessment of its evaluation plan for the year. And unfortunately we moved from 27 ICPEs to 16 this year, with 11 dropped. However, I just want to use this point to remind countries, Gambia, Niger, and Sao Tome, that we are available to support them in if they wish to do a CPD evaluation themselves. So that's our work in ICPEs. The ICPEs support your CPDs going to the board, and they're an opportunity to capture results over the last 4 or 5 years and inform your CPD going forward. We also undertake quite a high level, the office IEO undertakes a high level of thematic cross-cutting work. And again, a lot of this work has been informed by the Africa region. More recently, and not on this list, is an evaluation of work in LDCs. And of course, that drew almost entirely on the experience of work implemented in LDCs in Africa. Work in middle-income countries also drew on countries such as Botswana, and our evaluations of climate change and crisis, as well as migration, are also drawing on the experience from the region. And we also have a number of case studies in our strategic plan evaluation, which is currently underway. So that's just a little bit on our work and our interaction with the region, which has actually been very high over the last few years. We've supported a number of activities and CLEAR, and also invited participants from the region to a number of conferences. If we just look back now at the situation, evaluation implementation. So in 2019, as you can see, African Bureau countries in Africa had committed to do almost 110 evaluations, and unfortunately we're only able to do 59. Now, this in itself is in line, if you like, with the trend with globally, in that only 55% of evaluations planned were completed. But what is worrying for Africa is, in fact, that a number of, not just the number of evaluations that were cancelled and not implemented, but the fact that this is now a number that is half of what we had seen previously in the last few years, pardon me. As a result, also, we're looking at what evaluations have been cancelled, and we're seeing that while at the beginning of the year, some 70–75% of evaluations are around our programming work that is non-JEF, and only 25% of our evaluations are planned are JEF. Changes and cancellations mean that by the end of the year in RBA, actually over half of the evaluations undertaken are JEF. Now, why is this important? It means we are not evaluating across the board, our portfolio across the board. JEF projects only account for about 10% of projects and funding for the organization, yet they account for almost 50% of all the evaluations we do. Another worrying trend we saw last year, and this is very atypical of Africa, I have to say, because in previous years we've seen an average of over 110, 120 evaluations carried out, and with nearly every country office carrying out an evaluation. However, last year in 2019, nearly 40% of countries did not carry out any evaluations at all in the region, while another 20% of countries only carried out one evaluation. Now, globally, the average is 3 per country office. And of those countries that implemented evaluations last year, the average was 2 in RBA. So we can see there's a worrying trend across the region and a decline in evaluations being implemented. In previous years in Africa region, in 2018, 17 and 16, the average was 3 per country office. Now this means we're not capturing our results, we're not reporting results, we are not meeting our commitment to the board as outlined under our evaluation plan. And as Oscar said, we are not using evaluation to inform our management decisions. And evaluation offers a very strong tool within the RBM structure and process to inform both current and future activities. Sorry. This is the situation where we are now, 2020. As I mentioned, 138 evaluation planned. Only 17 have been completed, 12%. This is actually, I mean, obviously COVID has had an impact. However, I've looked at this year compared to last year, globally and for the region, and actually we're in exactly the situation that we normally are at this time of year. Last year was the same, only around 20% of evaluations globally had been completed, a little bit more in Africa. But it means that now we have a big job to do for the remainder of the year. We have basically 88% of our evaluations to be completed by the end of the year, 120 evaluations, 121 evaluations to be done between now and the end of the year. If, unfortunately, we haven't got terms of reference in place now, if we haven't started our recruitment process, it's very unlikely that the majority of those evaluations will actually be completed before the end of the year. So this is something we need to address. And obviously, between now and the end of the year, there is a lot of other work to do, not least of all, support to COVID-19. Yes, sorry. Oops, there we go. We also, as Oscar mentioned, we assess the quality of our evaluations every year. We undertake a detailed quality assessment process just to check that the investment that we're making in evaluation and the quality that is coming out is actually credible and usable for management decision making. Globally, only about 21% of evaluations meet the minimum criteria, and the minimum criteria is that which is set out in our evaluation guidelines. This means that the remainder, or 50%, are somewhat useful, and more than 20% are effectively of no use whatsoever to inform our decision making. Africa is actually, the quality of evaluations coming out has been significantly higher than elsewhere. We've seen a decline last year, but the quality has been good and has been improving, and we want to see this continuing. We hope that 2019 has just been a blip, and we will give more support to your RBM team, to Sophie, to try and address these issues, and including more detailed technical support to monitoring and evaluation colleagues. Here is just a snapshot of each country. I'm not going to go into detail. This is for your information. This is just an average of all the QA scores going over the last 4 years. And I'm happy to take questions on that at the end. Now, we've discussed with Sophie and as well in training sessions, there are some quick fixes here. There are some, for want of a better phrase, some low-hanging fruits. You know, we have issued new guidance to evaluation in 2019, which includes very detailed templates for terms of reference, for inception reports, as well as for final draft and final evaluation reports. And often we see a quality declines in evaluation where it steers away from this guidance. One of the areas that we see that is weakest is cross-cutting issues, and very much is gender. The inclusion of gender across our evaluations is lacking. and we would recommend that you focus on that. There are, again, clear guidance, and involve your gender focal points to help to support that area. And that's an area that certainly definitely needs to be strengthened going forward. GEF evaluations, especially in Africa, given they're 56% now of all those implemented, they have a quality that is moderately satisfactory and have been consistently stable at moderately satisfactory, but need to improve. They have just issued new guidance last week, and that can be used to inform and strengthen your evaluations going forward. Access to evaluators is always a concern. We have tools within the ERC to help you to do that, but also CRU and BPPS are developing a roster that can strengthen that process. And we've done some analysis recently that has clearly shown that, which I suppose is in effect is a no-brainer. It clearly shows that budget impacts the quality of evaluations. And the analysis showed if you want a satisfactory evaluation, the average budget for that is $37,000. Across RBA, the average budget is actually $25,000 per evaluation. So quite significantly less than the average needed for a satisfactory, and also less than the average globally for evaluations. Now, we're not just critical, doing analysis and criticizing bureaus. We've, over the last few years, supported significantly the bureaus and individual country offices. Last year, we issued new guidance in French and Spanish and English. We met with our bureau, with RBM focal points and M&E staff in Addis in June, and we held 2 workshops together in English and French, giving detail on the evaluations. And we recently launched 2 online training courses supporting staff in evaluation, and the certified course is mandatory for all M&E focal points. I'm happy to say that RBA has completed the most. 73 people have completed both courses, 24 have completed the certified course, 49 the introduction. 11 M&E focal points are now certified in the region, and that's good. That's about 15%. But we need to push that forward, and the deadline is October. And a shining light in your region has been Liberia, and where they have almost 20 people from the office and project staff have completed either of these 2 courses. And I'm really happy to see that. And I'm guessing that's Ignatius is making that push. So thank you, Ignatius, but we can talk about that. Well done. It's, you're by far, you're even higher than IEO, which is a little bit embarrassing on our part, but very, very good. Well done. So that's just a quick snapshot on where we are in RBA. As you know, over the last few months, it's been a very tough time for everybody. We were very quick in the office to realize that, and it was actually with Sophie's support, and it was actually came from an idea from Sophie herself, that we needed to do and issue guidance to help country officers, because clearly evaluations were going to be impacted as well as projects because of COVID-19. At the end of March, we issued this piece of guidance, and that outlines the structure of our thinking still for implementation of evaluation during COVID. And that is, we operate with the principle of do no harm to our staff, to our partners, communities, and evaluators. So we're not putting people in harm's way. We should be reconsidering and rethinking our evaluation plans. And we'll talk about criticality of assessments and evaluability assessments in a moment. We should be rethinking methodologies, and we should be also considering alternative data collection methodologies. So just moving on, what does that mean? It means as a first step, and we issued more guidance in July, that actually in July, but now as a matter of urgency, we should be undertaking a criticality assessment of our evaluation plans to see what can be done, what should be done, what is mandatory, what is necessary, and what will inform our management decision making going forward. we should, that should be done, well, it should have been done in July, but it should be done as soon as possible. Unfortunately, the numbers are still the same. Very few country officers have actually undertook a criticality assessment. What do we mean by that? There should be a consideration of rescheduling our plans, our evaluations, sorry, if needed. As I mentioned, it's now coming into September. It's going to be difficult to complete many evaluations before the end of the year. We should consider combining evaluations, especially those in similar thematic or outcome areas. And we've worked with a number of bureaus on what this means and how you can combine, let's say, parliamentary programs, evaluations with constitutional review projects, evaluations, rescheduling. But of course, this will also impact COVID, and travel restrictions will also impact the methodologies that we are using. So we must also build that into our terms of reference, and that is a consideration of undertaking these evaluations virtually. That is doing Zoom interviews, Skype interviews, WhatsApp telephone calls with stakeholders to gather information, increase our desk reviews, ensuring data is available for desk reviews, and maybe possibly changing our evaluation teams and relying a little bit more on national evaluators if necessary. Pardon me. Now for GEF projects, there's a slightly different set of guidance. Unfortunately, GEF, though they can be rescheduled, you need to do that in consultation with your regional technical advisors for GEF, and they cannot be combined. And the details are available for that within the guidance we issued at the beginning of last month. The second step in the process is, when you have done your criticality assessment of evaluation plans, is to review each evaluation with through the evaluability checklist that's available in the guidance. Now we need to, given these change of circumstances and the possibility that we'll be undertaking evaluations virtually, or we'll be using international consultants who are remotely based and national consultants in country where it's safe to do. So it's highly important that we have all our documentation in place to support desk reviews. And that is a well-defined results framework, a clearly articulated theory of change, including any changes that may have, documenting any changes that may have happened to programs, and then ensuring that data is available, financial and impact data, monitoring data is available to support the evaluation and the analysis. And then finally, we need to be planning ahead. I've reviewed the figures for Africa for COVID. I looked at the COVID-19 dashboard, and there's significant funding going into COVID already, just 3, 4 months, 5 months in. $150 million has been allocated for COVID-19 or tagged with COVID-19. And I'm sure that figure is higher, because it depends on the tag being made in Atlas. Now, $75 million of that is repurposed funds from existing portfolios of projects, and $75 million is new funding. So it's essential that when we're looking at when we're looking forward to where we want to be, that we are documenting, especially this repurposed and reprogrammed funding, and ensuring that we have all the documentation in place to highlight why it is we made those changes and what it is we expect to be doing with those funds. This will enable us this will prepare us for both real-time and future evaluations of our support to COVID-19, which is clearly coming. IEO itself is engaged with OECD on global evaluations. We are engaged with UNEG, and that's the UN environmental group, the UN evaluation group, and we're looking at how we will do a system-wide evaluation, or how we will support thematic evaluations across the UN system. So it is essential that at the country office and the regional level that we gather that data as we go, and not retrospectively. This is an opportunity to do things in the right way, and also to start to learn ourselves from the process. So we're advising, document decision making, ensure that changes to theories of change within programs and also across programs are documented and articulated well, and that there's a clear results targets outlined in IRRFs. As I mentioned, we have issued a number of guidance, and the link is there, and all of your M&E focal points have access to that, and we will be issuing more, and we're happy to take questions and suggestions for future guidance on this, on how to do evaluations during COVID-19. And just to finish off, we have also undertaken a lessons learned process within IEO, and we've issued 4 lessons pieces on health systems, and these are drawing health systems, livelihoods, social protection and strengthening governance. And these have drawn on experience from evaluation or experience and findings from evaluations across IEO's work, but also across programming units work and decentralized evaluations. With that, I would like to hand over to Oscar just to maybe finish off, and we can take questions, any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Richard. I think it was very comprehensive and detailed. Therefore, I don't think I have anything else to add. I don't know if we have Noura with us by now, from the RBA.
Sophie, is Noura here?
No, I left a message and no, not yet. I've not seen her name.
Okay, okay, we'll proceed.
In that case, let's start the question and answer session then. We can use the participants list where you could raise your hand. And if you feel more comfortable, also please do use the chat function. The floor is open. Thank you.
Okay. Sophie, would you have any questions that have come through you that you'd like to share, that you'd like to ask?
No, I don't have a question. You know, we discussed this, all of this earlier. The challenge is, I guess, basically, if I could add to what happened in 2019, you know, we had a lot of, some country offices who are going through change management, and we have a budget shortfall, and some posts were being cut off. So there was a lot of change in country offices. So this really affected, it's not an excuse, but this really affected our programming in general in RBA. So basically, probably that's why we saw the decline. But again, it's not an excuse, because if you look at the trend compared to last year when it was semi-normal, and now it's like the same trend happening. But I guess with this webinar, we hope to improve and do much better than last year.
Thank you. I mean, it is a trend that all bureaus saw, I guess, but obviously it impacted Africa considerably more.
But in response to that issue, we have also made the analysis, why is it that the GEF evaluations are so dominant at the end of the year? And it's of course because they are mandatory, and they do have the resources to undertake the evaluations. So that's why we are in conversations with the House, with the bureaus here in New York, to try to identify the budget line for decentralized evaluation so that you would secure the resources. And we are in the process of moving this agenda item forward, but we think it's important that you are sufficiently resourced to undertake evaluations. But beyond that, and taking the advantage of the presence of a number of resident representatives and deputy resident representatives, it is how you use these evaluations what will determine the availability of resources. And that's why at the beginning I was emphasizing the importance of using this to improve the quality of your decision making as to see where you need to institute corrective measures to achieve the expected outcomes of your country program in agreement with the government. But we are open to any questions you may have. We know that we have downloaded quite an important quantity of information in Richard's presentation, and you may take any point of it. Thank you.
We're also open to suggestions on future guidance. We are reviewing our support as we speak, and we will be developing a new plan for the next 18 months in partnership with bureaus and BPPS. So if you have considerations or areas that you feel need greater support, please let us know. Okay.
Colleagues, you need to ask all the questions you can now. Now that the bosses are here, the bosses of evaluation are here. So please ask all the questions you can, please.
Yes, please.
Oh, Oscar. Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's very interesting. One question, at the beginning of the presentation mentioned that you would provide support for CPD evaluations. We have a CPD coming up. It's supposed to be next year. We'll see what happens. But how do we go about accessing that support from you? Over.
Yes, indeed. As part of the rescheduling and reprogramming of our program of work, originally CPDs are evaluated independently by IEO. And therefore, we have been working very hard for a full coverage. And that's how last year we have undertaken 38 exercises of the CPDs that were going to be approved by the board. But COVID-19 came and forced us to reshape that. In that sense, we have reallocated some resources to see based on a feasibility assessment. And the ones that we are not undertaking, we have offered to support in terms of course, looking at the terms of reference of those evaluations. And then we are in discussion with regional bureaus also to see the financial support to undertaking some of those exercises. The form of this financial support is not yet defined. We are in the process of identifying what is the best way forward. But yes, rest assured that IEO is there to support you in undertaking this type of exercises in those cases where an independent evaluation will not take place. But I don't know if Richard, you want to expand a bit more details.
Well, I will defer to Fumika. Fumika and I and Heather have been working on this process, and there are some guidelines. But Fumika, would you like to talk to that? I mean, support is definitely available, Ola.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed, there was a guidance note from our office back in May describing how IEO wants to engage with the country office, particularly those who have lost our independent country program evaluations this year. So my suggestion is that if you do not have that guidance note, please let us know, or maybe Sophie, you can share that once again with all of our country office colleagues. So in it, we talk about we would offer technical support or financial support. But first of all, for those who are planning your own country program evaluation or in-depth CPPS, the country program performance summary, which you usually prepare for the board if there's no central evaluation. If you're going to have a well-designed CPPS, then and you're lacking support, we would be happy to provide that support. But before that, of course, we would like to see what your plans are for those exercises. So we would usually ask for some kind of a terms of reference that describes the scope of your exercise, the methodology, how you're going to, how you're intending to collect data, the timelines, and then also a planned budget and justification of how you're going to use the budget, and perhaps which part of which component of the budget or budget items country office is willing to cover versus what you would like IEO to cover. So that type of a quick sort of plans would be very, very useful. And it's in the guidance note that we shared. So far from RBA, we received a request from Gambia office for their CPPS. And then also, I think Eritrea had also contacted us. Yeah, so do take a look at the guidance notes, and then we will take it from there. But then we would certainly would like to have a plan from each of the country offices requesting such a request about your plans first. Thank you.
I will send you, Olaf, I'll send you the guidance directly.
Fantastic.
And we're happy to discuss further.
Okay, that's really great. Thanks everyone.
Do we have, I mean, so we're now August, moving into September very quickly. The end of the year is approaching. We have 138 evaluations across the Bureau. Does anybody have any concerns or questions about what does it mean restructuring your evaluation plans going forward? You know, what does it mean combining evaluations? What does it mean reviewing these plans? Do we have anybody who has any concerns about this process?
Everything is clear.
Well, I stand very open to have a more technical discussion with people if they want to go through the nitty-gritties of their evaluation plans for the next 18 months. Because again, just to reiterate, we should not be looking at anything now at this point, and given now what we know about COVID-19, in that it's not going to go back to normal anytime soon. We should be looking at restructuring evaluation plans, not just for 2020, but also into 2021. We're not shifting things from this year to next year. We really need to look at those plans as in their entirety. And we need to say, well, what is it we want to capture about our programs, about our portfolios of projects that will inform our work going forward, whether it's for a new CPD or for new programming, because at the moment we have new funding for COVID-19 that is taking us into new areas. So we need to evaluate. Evaluation can help us even support that new programming. Oscar?
Well, no, I think if there are no further questions, colleagues, we want to thank you for your participation in this meeting. You have our contacts, and therefore, if in the process of reshaping your evaluation plans, you have any further questions, we are here to support you. And I wish you you stay safe and healthy. And I thank you very much for participating in this meeting, and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very helpful. Have a great day.
And you, Olaf, enjoy your holiday.
Thank you.